Now, I want us to look at another issue that is just of equal importance. SASSA reviewing the eligibility of grant recipients. And I don't know if perhaps your loved ones have been affected by this, but at least 210,000 social grant recipients are under investigation for having possible undisclosed additional incomes. So SASSA says these beneficiaries were flagged under investigation for having possible undisclosed additional incomes. So they allegedly have these other sources of income, and they had until the end of July to present their cases to the agency, failing which then that will lead to their grants being permanently cancelled. And depending on their circumstances, a fraud investigation may actually be opened. Let's find out more about this and speak to Paseka Letsatsi, who is the head of communications at SASSA. Paseka, thank you for your time this morning. Hi.
Good morning, Clement, and thanks for having me.
So just for clarity, why are some of these beneficiaries' social grants suspended, and how did you pick up that there may be discrepancies here?
Clement, I think as per the regulations of SASSA, if you come forward to apply for a grant, there's a section which stipulates that should anything in terms of your income changes, you must inform the agency. So the onus, it's on the beneficiary to do that. But secondly, just to respond to your other question, when we do the reviews, we basically work with the credit bureaus, but obviously we also have the memorandum of understanding with the banks, just to check if your status has changed. And we believe and we thought that the beneficiaries will do the most honorable thing if they get employed, to come forward and say, I'm now employed, can you kindly stop my grant?
Okay, and then some recipients, they'll say they got suspended for allowances and not necessarily income. So their income status still hasn't changed, but maybe someone gets an allowance from their child on a consistent basis.
Not true. And I think maybe we may just want to separate the two, because I know the cry was with regard to the COVID-19 grant of the 370, where people say, I've got an income. So this is basically your mainstream grants, like your old age, your child support grant, which we are focusing on. And in this instance, Clement, we work closely with the credit bureau, like I said, and the banks, and we are aware that it's not a contribution which comes from your child, or it's not a contribution which comes from your grandkids. But in any case, the regulation says you need to come forward and perhaps present your case to us contrary to the information which we have. And if that is the case, we'll then be able to release your grant. But let me just take this opportunity, Clement, to clarify one thing. There is absolutely no grant which has been suspended. Two, there's no grant that has been stopped. All what we have done was to delay the payment, because the intention is to send a message to an individual that your grant has been flagged.
Okay, but are there others whose payments are still delayed to this day, or there was a delay and then they received their payments?
There was a delay, and today, I think people would have started to receive their grant. We will do the same, Clement, next month, with these individuals who have been flagged. We will delay, because the intention is to engage them and so that they come to a SASSA office and clarify the matter. And failing which, I agree with you, which we raised earlier on, that if they fail to present themselves to a SASSA office, unfortunately, we will then have their grant being cancelled permanently.
Okay, hold on. So, I mean, suspension, and maybe this is just like the different words we're using here, right? So,
yeah.
But when I said suspended, I mean someone who is supposed to or is expecting to be paid, let's say on the 1st of July, they didn't get that payment because their account has been flagged because SASSA has got some concerns. Can they receive that payment or they have to come and talk to you at SASSA first and you resolve this issue before they get that payment?
What we do, Clement, thanks for the question. What we do, because people get paid on the 3rd of every month. So if your account has been flagged, you won't get your pay on the 3rd. It will be delayed, and the payment will happen on the 8th. And the intention of delaying it is to make sure that you come forward and present yourself to a SASSA office and say, in actual fact, SASSA, you are wrong. I am not employed. The information at my disposal is that I'm getting contribution from my child or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the matter will be resolved. However, even if you don't come, you will still get your grant on the 8th.
Okay, so just a delay. All right.
Yes,
then
it's just a delay.
For people who are receiving monies from their children, for instance, if there's a gogo or a granddad out there or a father who receives, say, money from Clement, maybe I'm sending 1,000 rand home or 2,000 rand home on a consistent basis. So let's say every month. Is that a concern for SASSA? Does someone like that still qualify for this beneficiary, as a beneficiary?
Yeah, you still qualify, Clement. In actual fact, we won't even flag you because it's a contribution which you are getting from your family member. In this instance, it's people whom the information that we get is that they are employed. And we have that information at our disposal. But like I'm saying, it is their responsibility to prove SASSA otherwise. And in this instance, I can tell you, Clement, that we are 99% correct in terms of what we have picked up. But I'm saying if they've got information contrary to what we have, they are more than, they can come forward and say, SASSA, we are wrong, and the matter will be resolved as quick as possible. Okay. But I want to clarify something as well, Clement, so that we don't have people flocking to our offices. One, we communicate with individuals who are affected, and we are appealing to them that if they change their phone number, if you change your address, please communicate with us so that when we send message, we can send the message to the right person. Don't just keep quiet when the information is changed. But two, if we have not communicated with you and your details have not changed, don't come to a SASSA office because we will definitely cause unnecessary crowd in the SASSA office.
Okay. I've got some listeners who've got questions and some concerns, so I want to open the lines for them. 011-883-0702. You can give us a call. Have you been flagged by SASSA? Are you concerned about the reviews, these reviews of the eligibility of grant recipients? How have you been affected? The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Let's start here.
Absolute rubbish. You've got to be able to get into a SASSA office. If you are not at the main SASSA office at 6:30 in the morning, you cannot get into SASSA.
Okay, Paseka, clearly frustrated there, not even a hello, but I guess that's a frustration that some of the grant recipients have. I think this one is raising issues around access to SASSA offices that they can't just get through.
Yeah. No, I don't know how to get through, but we had a discussion with Clement on this matter in terms of separating your main applications of people and people who must do the verification. And one of the elements which we said our IT must explore is to make sure that if you have to do verification, it may not be necessary for you to come to the office. You can do it online or you can do through a phone. But obviously, we are worried that if we do that, we may open floodgates for fraud, or sometimes someone just stopping your ground because they've got a gripe against you. But we have taken all those particular instances or all those particular issues into cognizance just to make sure that we make the lives of beneficiaries very easy.
Just to be clear, what do the beneficiaries need to provide to prove that they are eligible for the grants? And so once they've been flagged, what is it that you would require as proof as SASSA?
Yes, thanks for that question, Clement. They just need to come with their ID and a 3-month bank statement. We have developed a flyer. We are using all forms of medium to make sure that we communicate so that people, when they come to the office, they don't come and they are told that you don't have a 3-month bank statement. Go back and bring it, so that when you come, you know that you have your ID, you have your 3-month bank statement, so that you can say, you SASSA are saying I'm employed I've been getting this payment from a company X, but however, in terms of the information at my disposal, it's contrary to what you are saying. And I think the client, the staff members of SASSA would then take them through the review process. And if the information we have is not correct, the beneficiary will be removed from the red flag, and they will then be able to get their grant without any delay.
Good morning, Clement, and the rest of the 702 lenders. Clement, I'm so happy that you did invite this guy to talk about this issue. You know, my money was also suspended, and I went to the offices yesterday, and guess what? They picked up that I'm running a shebeen. I mean, now really, that is not an honest income. God wants me to earn money in an honest way. What an insult. SASSA needs to get their system in order. This is an insult to the nation. Really, I was so disappointed. So disappointed, Clement. Thank you so much, Anonymous.
Okay, but yeah, Anonymous, I wonder, like, do you own a shebeen or not? Because initially the impression you created there was like you do own it, and it's unfair for SASSA then to want to qualify whatever you receive every month as income. But then now I think the impression I'm getting is that you don't own it. Maybe some clarity there. But Paseka, in a case that someone does in fact own a shebeen, for instance, and there's irregular, of course, revenue that comes to them, do they qualify for the grant?
Clement, when you present yourself to a SASSA office, we take you through what is called a means test. And I think you would want to check if people qualify in terms of their assets, in terms of the business which they are running. But I'm confused like you, because the listener says it was picked up that she's running a shebeen. But obviously there would be a person who's got a business that they are running. And it's not illegal to run a business. It's legal to run any form of business. But just declare when you come to SASSA that I've got a small business that I'm running. It's making 30,000 rand a month, so that we can take you through a normal means test like anybody else. But if you keep quiet, you don't give us the facts, we'll pick it up from our side, Clement. And once we pick it up, you will be frustrated. And I think what we need here is just people to understand that all that we simply need from our beneficiaries is that please, when you come and present yourself to SASSA, just make sure that you disclose anything so that we don't find it. And then when we find it, you can't get delayed and you get frustrated.
Are there instances, though, where your systems have been flawed in determining or picking up that something is wrong? For instance, if you pick up that someone actually does own a shebeen, but they really don't, have you had instances like that?
We have not so far had that, Clement. But obviously, when people other people decide not to come to SASSA when we have flagged their grant, we don't know why they don't come.
Okay.
But so far, we have not picked up that anomaly.
Okay, because this woman has sent us another voice note and says, I actually don't own a shebeen and I've never owned one, and yet I was flagged. So that must be something wrong then with the system.
There might have been an issue there. And what I would want to appeal, Clement, is that if you have the details, you may just give them to me after the interview.
Okay.
I'll then make a personal follow-up just to see what happened.
I will do
report
that.
Back to you.
Yeah, there's another person who says that they're unemployed, 66 years of age, they're frail, they've been going to SASSA because they've been flagged, they've been going to SASSA, and the office, they go there, they wait for hours, and then they close the doors, they tell them to come the next day. So I will give you some of these cases perhaps after the show, just so maybe you can follow up, because also it's unfair to expect people who are frail to come to the offices. You're telling them to come to the offices, but when they come, they wait there for hours, they're not taking their medication, they're not eating, and then they're only told later, come back tomorrow. So at some point, the system has to be somehow smooth. Here's another voice note.
Yes, I've been flagged. I'm a 70-year-old lady. And the only money I've ever received besides SASSA was for my birthday in October, because I was 70. All my friends and family put it all together, and so I received 2,000 Rand present on my birthday last year, October. Then Christmas time, I received 1,000 Rand also from my family for a Christmas present. And otherwise, there's no other income except for my SASSA.
Yeah. Okay, bruh, Pet on the WhatsApp line says, and I'll give you an opportunity to respond, Paseka, in a moment. Bruh Pet says, Clement, can you establish from the SASSA spokesperson why SASSA insists on beneficiaries visiting SASSA when they know full well that their offices are always chock-a-block? Secondly, where is the person whose account has been suspended going to get the money to get to the office? Why don't they give beneficiaries the option to attend to the issue online? Yeah, Paseka?
No. Thanks, Clement. Let me respond to the last one. One of the options which we picked up was that our IT division must just look into the possibility of making sure that the processes are done. But obviously, when you make an application, you come to a SASSA office, and when we want to do the verification as well, we would expect you to come. And I said earlier on, the intention here, Clement, when we take 5 steps forward, fraudsters, they take 10 steps ahead of us. And we just want to make sure that when we open an online verification process, we don't have fraudster. I don't have to come to 702 again and explain that people did not get their money. It's very painful for beneficiaries to be defrauded. So those are some of the issues we are taking into concern, so that we don't put beneficiaries in a bad way. But the other thing which we resolved yesterday, Clement, was the fact that our system must be in such a way that you address the issues of the old people who are getting the old age grant. Because what we are saying as an organization is that the 90-year-old, how do you expect the 90-year-old to come to a SASSA office and do the verification? So I think our guys in the grants administration have agreed that they need to make sure that they develop mechanism to make sure that the system is not painful to the beneficiary.
Okay, AB says, my mother gets rental money from tenants from flats that I have built for her in the backyard. Will she be flagged?
Look, Clement, if a person is flagged, we will communicate with them, and we are appealing from the bottom of our heart that just make sure that the matter is resolved with SASSA, and you make an explanation, and we do not necessarily suspend your grant. And it's such a simple process to do, just to make sure that the matter gets resolved.
So in a manner, for instance, this woman, if you're going to do a means test with her, and then if you figure out that, okay, then she receives enough money from the rentals, then that's when you would make the decision that she's out of the system.
I don't want to go to that level, Clement, lest we have people not presenting themselves to a SASSA office for the fear of their grant being stopped. But I think if there is an income and it kicks you out of the means test, obviously your grant will be stopped. Okay. But we don't think people must fear or be scared that their grants will be stopped.
Yeah. So look, Paseka, I really hope that at least you got the get the offices in order. I can't tell you how many messages I'm receiving of people who are complaining about the long queues and how they arrive at your offices at 6 a.m. in this cold winter, and then they're still not assisted by the afternoon. They're told to come back tomorrow. That's just not cool. So I hope that there can be a system of sorts. Officials can know that there are people who arrive there very early, so they can improve the system in some way.
No, definitely, Clement. And I think we can have an appointment in the next 2 weeks so that I can give you a progress report.
Please. Thank you. Paseka Letsatsi, Head of Communications at SASSA.